Welcome back to our next episode of Uncivil Discourse, hosted by Lee, who apparently isn't going to say hello, myself, and our guest commentator this year, Jeff.
You haven't written down Lee retort, so I figured you were doing hosted by Lee, myself, and or our guest commentator, and then I would do mine, and then Jeff would do his.
Poor writing, bad acting.
Oh, I'm taking half the blame for that one.
I mean, I'm surprised you didn't wave.
I always wave. I'm always waving. I'm waving right now. Everyone, look at me. I'm waving.
I hope you can upload a wave emoji for that one later.
So, yeah, I got to say, the first week went swimmingly well. We've had a couple of upsets over the way the games went. A couple of games that didn't get actually played out, or at least one I know for sure didn't get played. But, you know what? Beginning of the season scheduling muck-ups. It'll clear up in the next week or so. Other than that, it's been great. I'm glad to have seen everybody out, and I'm glad to see that the newcomers had a relatively good first week.
Definitely exciting times on the Slayer 7 fields this week for sure, and definitely some upset wins and some surprise losses in this one.
All right, Lee, we're early on, but do you have any special announcements for our guests and our viewers?
Not really, not a whole lot, other than thank you everybody for getting your skill spins in just on time. I know some of us were at the last 5 minutes. What I would recommend is if you have an engineering skill get it in as early as possible so that Brett, OG, and I have the best opportunity to get the best mech designed for you. If you don't give us a lot of time, those emails got to be coming back and forth fast and furious to make sure that things get done.
Well, that you only really get like one tweak. So if you're putting it in 5 minutes before cutoff, and then we're trying to look at it, and you don't have time to get it adjusted, you just might have to sit on your points this week. So absolutely, if you have a engineering type rebuild, get it in sooner rather than later. Okay, on to first week skill spins. This is always an exciting time. Truthfully, the first 3 weeks are really the most interesting. We had 2 people pick up Clan Salvage, the Merrick Militia Orion grabbing a Clan LRM-15, and Renshield's Dragoon Marauder 6L picks up a Clan ERPPC. Hogan's Heroes uses some Underworld contacts to get Endo Steel on the Cerberus, while the Pit Viper's Fafnir uses favorite weapon on the improved Heavy Gauze. The Alshane Regulars Thunderhawk picks up favorite weapon on the regular Gauze Rifle. Tin Man's Tin Cans grabs Bribery. I think this is pretty much a go-to skill for that stable. Thumper's Revenge, the Longbow, picks up Field Test for all the tasty LRM ammo options. And the Blitzkrieg Jezebels pick up Forest Fire on the Avatar. Tin Man's Tin Cans grabs Bribery. This seems to be a go-to skill for them every year. Thumper's Revenge Longbow picks up Field Test for all the tasty SRM ammo options. And the Blitzkrieg Jezebels pick up Forest Fire on the Avatar. The Wolfpack chassis upgrades the Vindicator into a Night Sky 5T. Paxton's Pathfinders chassis upgrades the Cataphract into a Black Knight 6. Wendigo's Night Stalkers chassis upgrades the Thunderbolt into a Marauder 9M2. The Devil's Brigade chassis upgrades the Axeman into a Caesar 4S. And Nace CIT chassis upgrades the Sagittaire into a Nightstar 9J. Condo's Janissaries picks up Engineering on the Helios 3D, replacing the 2 SRM6s with Streak SRM4s, adds an XL engine, adds case 2 into the right arm with the Gauze Rifle and the Streak ammo, upgrading the armor from 9 tons to 12.5, or 200 out of 201 possible. Original BV 1618, new BV 1770, increase of 152 BV overall. Kel's Keshik, the Scorpion 1N, was a starting BV of 1019, requesting an XL engine, jump jets, and a turret. It now goes 696 with 10 double heatsinks. It adds a Beagle. It adds turret for the 2 weapons. Case 2. The armor increases to 200 out of 201. The new BV is 1357, a total of 338 increase. The Radiant Ravens Raiders, the Battlemaster, BLR 5M, starting battle value is 1766. Swaps the light Gauze Rifle for a normal Gauze Rifle, moving 2 ER medium lasers from rear to forward, giving them a total of 6 forward firing. The armor upgrades to 263 out of 263. The speed does drop to 3.5 to accommodate this. It adds a second ER large laser forward, generating a range heat of 27 or 33 at short range. It dissipates a total of 34 now. New battle value, 2164, for a total BV increase of 398, coming in 2 points underneath the cap. The first Dracon's Axeman 1N, starting BV is 1374, drops the AC-20 in favor of a Gauss rifle with 2 tons of ammo. Case 2 swaps the ferrofibrous armor with endo steel instead, drops the hatchet. The new armor value is 208 out of 211. It gains 2 additional double heat sinks, Beagle probe, and it generates 24, dissipates 24. New BV is 1758, or an increase of 384. On to the next lance, Cat's Cavalry's Guillotine 5M, BV of 1472. It retains the ER large laser. It replaces the SRM-6 with an MML-7 with Artemis, 2 tons of ammo, and case 2. Adding ECM, the armor value goes up to 216 out of 217. 16 double heat sinks with 0 free crits on this thing. It is just jammed in there. The request was to add double heat sinks and ECM. And Artemis. It has 1 medium pulse laser to defend its rear. It generates 32 heat forward, dissipates 32. New BV is 1692, or an increase of 220. Ansgar's Marauder 2 5A, original BV 2058. It is tweaked by 1 request afterwards. This is why we say get your skills in, as he wanted to have a little bit different from what the original build was. It is now a 4.64 mover. It's replacing its big guns, the 2 PPCs, and the other big weapon with 3 snub nose PPCs now. It added in endo steel, changed the heat sinks to double. It has 20 double. It has 1 small laser, 100% armor. ECM has a total of 4 medium lasers now instead of 2. The new BV is 2264 for a 206 BV increase. The Dead Man's Hand Jagermech DG started at 1625. It started with 116 out of 211, only a 55% coverage. This thing was a piece of junk to begin with. It drops the engine to 3.5, adds jump jets, so it's now going 3.53, upgrades the case to case 2. It does end up dropping 2 tons of ammo from 6 down to 4, swaps the ferrofibers for endo, drops the heat sinks to singles because it had no space whatsoever, but it max heat is 11, dissipates 10. The new armor is 184 out of 211, or a new BV of 1871, for a total increase of 246. And our last engineering, Abishai's Cronus 3M. Starting BV is 1339, swaps the large laser for heavy PPC, added endo and ferro, and case 2. Changed the heat sinks to double, dropping it down to 10 in total. Range heat is 20, it dissipates 20, it generates 20 at short, so totally balanced. It adds 1 medium laser for a total of 4 medium lasers, 1 SRM4. The armor increases to 179 out of 185 for 97% coverage. Its new BV is 1736, an increase of 397.
Well, folks, that means that we've picked up 25 faction techs preseason, 8 engineering so far, 2 clan salvages, which means we have 40 out of 128 mechs modified already. We have 5 chassis upgrades, 2 favorite weapons, 1 forest fire, giving us our first 3 gunnery skills. Some of these are some pretty interesting builds. Abishai's Kronos, that became a beast for a medium mech very quickly. We see some nice pickups here all around. And the chassis swaps also are some really nice pickups too. The in particular, seeing that Vindicator become a Night Sky in Wolfpack, that's a nice pickup for sure. And the 5T, I do believe, is the one with the ERPPC, is it not?
It is.
So there's another 10-point hit coming out of that lance. The Wendigo is picking up that Marauder 9M2. That's a fun mech to see. 2 heavy PPCs, 2 SRM6 streaks. Devil's Brigade picking up that Caesar, that gives him another heavy gauze rifle in his lance. Also, that ERPPC on that Marauder 6L, that thing became a real big beast right there just because of that. Overall, interesting skill spends. Be great to see how they pan out of the table for everybody this coming week.
And now, onto our match summary from the prior week. Game number 1, we saw stable manager Matt with his Cat Nightingale Cavalry with the Mercenary faction versus stable manager Cal, the Pit Vipers, running Lyran Flag, meet in Arena 12, the Pavement Experience. This match ended about an hour early as the Pit Viper manager had other commitments. Otherwise, this could have been a real bloodbath. The Fafnir opened up early on the longbow, punching internal on the right torso and an arm as it hit with both. The very first time it gets hit. However, all that tasty ammo ended up not getting exploded because they were unable to capitalize on it. This ends in a 1-0 Cats Commandos victory.
It's always unfortunate when games don't get to be able to play the time, because this could have been quite a bit of a different game. This map shows us just how exciting city fights really can be. I heard somewhere around round 2 or round 3, the Viper Marauder went for a slide. Skidding is always fun. John, we have another person joining the group. But it was only a minimal detriment, but it fell down. It is always funny to see a mech's legs go out from under it, especially when it's not mine.
The Viper Marauder was the only mech destroyed this match by the Cavalry Guillotine, so that fall may have made the difference in everything too.
Game number 2. Heather with her Blitzkrieg Jezebels again this year, running the Lyran Flag, versus Lee, Dead Man's Hand, and the St. Ives Compact. These two teams meet in the Alien World, Arena number 3.
Yep, and I gotta say, Heather played a phenomenally good game. Those improved gauze rifles and improved heavy gauze rifle, and the heavy gauze rifle hit really hard. And her Blitzkrieg actually was one of the most efficient machines she had. The Ultra 20 just kept hitting, like just repeatedly hitting. She even was able to double it up once. I did quite a bit of damage to her Goliath, was able to take out her Avatar, but in the end it was a 4-1 win for the Blitzkriegs. Way to go, Hun. You definitely played that well. Other than, why did you run everybody into the water the second round? It's like the call of the siren for Heather. It's like she's waiting for another breach.
That's a callback to last year with a Phoenix Hawk mishap in water. That Blitzkrieg though, 3 kills, medium mech, Ultra AC 20. Way to go, Heather. That's utilizing your medium to its full capabilities right there. Give that pilot a raise.
Oh, she was doing amazing, like sneaking it completely out of line of sight for one round, then running in and taking a shot, and then running back out of sight. She played it really well, especially getting into the firing arcs that I couldn't really hit her.
Yeah, it sounds like that was definitely the go-to mech that did all the heavy lifting for her. Or at least got all the glory anyway, if the other mechs were doing the heavy lifting, and then it just comes in for the kill shot. This is one of many games where I heard about people walking into water and failing it and then falling down, but I haven't heard of any breaches so far yet this year. But there was 3 different matches where people entered water and failed the first time they went in. Game number 3, we have Laura with Thumper's Revenge running the Mercenary Flag versus Chris and the Remnants flying Comstar. Arena 8, they met on the Wooded Hills.
This came very close to being a 1-1 tie. It was down to the last 3 rounds of the match. The 1 mech each down, weapon, and they're on each other's toes. Laura's Grasshopper with its 5 medium pulse lasers and snub-nosed PPC just lays pounding on the pretty much pristine Thunderhawk. One shot to the head from the Streak 4, a floating critical to the right torso or left torso, which hits the gauze rifle, and suddenly the Thunderhawk is face down with 5 pilot hits in one just boom done situation. After that, Laura was able to clean up 2 more mechs and walked away with a 3-1 victory.
That Thunderhawk cascade of unfortunate events sounds absolutely astounding and one for the books of epic things that have happened in a Battletech match.
Yeah, it was just boom, done. From a ton of armor to laying on the ground snoring.
Watching the replay, it looks like the Rakshasa was killed by the Thunderhawk. In return, the Longbow claimed the Rifleman. The Grasshopper finished off both the Avatar and the Thunderhawk in this match.
She kicked the head off of the Avatar with the Grasshopper as well, and then blew the head off the Thunderhawk with a medium pulse laser when it dispatched that mech.
Game number 4, Max and the Abishai Avengers, running Periphery, versus Jared, the League of Robots, as a Warden clan, played late in Arena 21, the Savannah map. The Elementals get a kill in this game, but it's a good showing of how accuracy can overcome strategy, as the newcomer League of Robots take home 4-3 victory. So this is easy to summarize, as it was a battle of really two titans on the field.
You could definitely say that. The Avengers Flashman got the kill on all 3 of the League's mechs, while the Dire Wolf got 3 of the 4 kills up against the Avengers. Although it gave a large pulse laser to the head of the Black Knight, followed up by an SRM for the Elementals. So if the fire had been reversed, it really could have been all 4 mechs credited to the Dire Wolf A.
I got to witness this one. It was an amazing back and forth. Started off with, on turn 4, we seen the Black Knight go down to that headshot from the SRM2, or off of the Elementals. And then the following, on the same turn, Max lands 2 PPC shots into the torso of each torso left and right of the Ice Ferret, gets the crits he needs, and takes out the XL engines. 3 engine hits. Boof. Done. Then they went on, the Elementals took a whole pound of punishment for a bunch of turns, finally to eat it to the Flashman. The poor Galahad, or Glass Spider, it lost an arm, and then it lost a torso, and then it lost another torso, and then it decided it was going to run up a hill and try to kick an Atlas. Died horribly to the Flashman. And at that point in time, it was basically 3-1. The Kronos had eaten a bunch of shots earlier on from the Daishi. It ended up being, I thought for sure this was going to be a Max win. He had pretty much a pristine Flashman. The Atlas went down, lost both of its torsos, and then lost its center torso as well. And then the Kronos, it got taken out by the Daishi the following turn, and then it was an unfortunate series of events. The Daishi was opened in both left and right torso. It already had an engine hit on it, and Max's Flashman came over the hill, popped off 2 heavy PPCs on, I believe it was 6s if I remember correctly, and missed both of them, and that Daishi landed every one of its shots afterwards. And that poor Flashman lost a torso, got a gyro hit, lost a shoulder actuator and the 1 remaining arm, fell over, made its seatbelt checks and everything, and then he turned around, went to stand up, and did not make it up, and fell over and knocked himself out, and the Daishi cored him after that. All around, 21 turns of very much back and forth battle, and it was great to watch.
Game number 5, Andre and Renshield's Dragoons versus Devon's First Merrick Militia, Free Worlds League. This is our 4th arena. The River Valley gets to see some action today. Starting off with a spectacle, the Merrick Awesome decides to walk down a hill into a stream, fails his piloting roll, takes a hit on the way down, decides that's not good enough, and goes face first into the mud. 2 pilot hits and a possible breach start this game off. It ends in a 1-0 victory win for the Renshield's Dragoon, with the Awesome not managing to kill itself early.
I've had situations like that in campaigns where you wipe out a mech in the first couple of rounds of your own, going, oh, well, that's not what I really wanted to show off when I first introduced myself. But it looks like the game was kept tight, so Andre had to work hard for his win. The Dragoons Cataphract was the mech that got the Merrick Marauder. And, well, it's not the best showing when you walk onto the field, Devon, but hey, you got this one out of the way. You're no longer a league virgin. You can get out there and get some wins coming up.
Very, very interesting. 1-0 win for the two newcomers. Just, yeah, all you can say is keep on trucking. You'll see the wins and the kills come in the faster you learn the way the league is played.
Ironically, now that I think about it, I can't remember if it was season 1 or season 2, but somebody else ran a awesome 9M, and in game 1 of the season, walked into water, fell down, breached their leg, and just was out for the count. I think that was a game against Laura, but pretty entertaining to see just how catastrophic water can be in some of these matches. Now, on to game number 6. Unfortunately, this one wasn't able to get played, so this will end up being ruled as a victory for Phil and his Hogan's Heroes running the Mercenary banner. On to game number 7. Stable manager Aaron and his Neon Betons, running clan this year, versus Todd, new Avalon Institute of Science Crisis Intervention team. Yeah, no, NACE CIT. They're Lyran stable. They met in Arena 27. The Mines saw some action today. This match ended up to be quite the beaten, with the clanners showing just how successful they can be early on, walking away with a 4-0 victory.
This surprises me. Todd does know how to definitely play Battletech, and it sounds like some bad dice rolls happened for him. Aaron's usually known to be quite lucky, especially in the first few rounds of the match. I don't know what to say, Todd. Keep at it. You got a good lance. I'm not really sure the Night Star is going to serve you as well as that Sagittaire might have, but give it a go. It might be the best thing you needed.
On that note, the Blackjack got taken out trying to stand itself up. The Rifleman got Nova'd, and by that I mean Beaton did the thing that I said he was going to do, which was jump in and fire everything that he could and take a mech out. The Marauder fell to the fire from the Thunderbolt, and lastly, the unconscious Sagittaire got Alpha Strike by the Nova, doing what the Nova does.
The Sagittaire was the only Alpha Strike from the Nova, though. He was not willing to shut it down. He walked in, or when he went in and he held back fire so that he could jump out and decool down the next round.
He found a loophole, people. Be scared.
Game number 8, we see Gary with his Red Suns Irregulars, running clans as well, versus Justin's Tin Man Tin Cans, repping the Federated Suns again. These teams just couldn't figure out what arena to fight in, being scheduled for the Tundra, then finally meeting in Arena 20, the Gravel Experience. Our second showing of some clan savagery, the Red Suns Irregulars walk away with a 4-2 victory, but it was almost a 4-3 with only one elemental trooper with no armor remaining alive, and then the bell sounded, ending the match.
Gary's always a fan favorite, at least with me. I know he's a good player. I know he's tough. With the clan's tech in his hands, I could see him doing really well early on. And, well, I said that right from the beginning. I think once the skills start coming into effect, the Inner Sphere is going to start catching up some. Just because their tech is a little bit more interesting and does a little bit more wilder things. Justin, just shuffle it off. You know you've lost this game. You know you're going to lose in week 5 when you face against me. Just try to win the next 3. Gary, well done, and looking forward to seeing how you do next week.
I heard one of the highlights of the of that game is when the Tin Man's Battlemaster ran up and punted an elemental for a field goal.
That's good!
4 out of 5 elementals agree that death was the only answer today. Pouncer was killed by the Phoenix Hawk. The Archer taken out by Axe of Guillotine, which that guillotine is definitely threatening. While the Tin Man's demise was brutal, the Archer taking out both the Phoenix Hawk and the Thunderbolt. And the Widowmaker took out the Guillotine and the Battlemaster. I also heard that we actually did get to see a sword chop from the Battlemaster, so we're already one up on melee weapons actually connecting this year, so I'm happy to hear that. Overall, Justin, good job. Gary, way to show your clan tech.
Game number 9, Galen and his Kenkazi DCMS Lance versus myself with my first Drakons, Free Razzlehog Republic. This match was played early, also on Arena 27, the Mines, leaving it open on game day for a second match to accidentally show up. The 6 dead mechs on the field should have been a clue, though, that it would already been used. Getting off to an early head start, the Kenkazi thought they had it in the bag, punching the Shadowhawk in the nose, making him go to sleep early. They were not able to capitalize, though, as they spent the next turn trying to target and blow off the leg, which ended up being their downfall. As throughout the match, the Shadowhawk came back to cripple the Marauder, kick the teeth of the Maelstrom after having put a medium laser in its head, and explode the Gauss rifle on the Atlas, bringing this to a final score of 3-3, our first tie this season. In return, the Black Knight was headcapped by the Marauder, the Axeman got taken out by the Atlas, and the Atlas took the head off of the Viking as well.
Now, Brett, I know in the earlier Uncivil Discourse we did vote that I thought you were going to take this game, and then when I heard what was happening during your game, I'm like, oh, Galen's actually just going to stomp Brett. I thought everything about your lance was prepared to take him on. And to hear that you were down early, I was like, oh, darn it. Oh well, way to go, Galen. Well played.
I'm more impressed to hear the fact that a Shadowhawk actually did something.
Oh, I'm really surprised he came back and tied it up. Like, that was from the bottom of his socks to the top of his head pulling it up.
Absolutely amazing on both players' parts. Good job, Galen. Way to take it to one of the admin, and Brett, way to go for trying to bring it back. Truly impressive.
MVP of the game, definitely the Shadowhawk. All right, game number 10. Hamilton with his Foch Knights Comstar versus Carlo, Al Shane's Regulars DCMS, meeting in the Mountain Lakes Arena, number 7. This one gets to see some action this season. This was a battle of the beasts. The King Crab with 2 Gauss rifles versus the Thunderhawk with 3. The Knights come out on top in this exchange with a 3-2 victory. I wish I had come to this table more often to check in on it. The Dragon punched itself in the head trying to remove an arc beacon. The Exterminator blew its mask. The Phoenix Hawk had an arm taken off by a floating crit. And if I'm reading the after-action report, someone fell in water and killed themselves. Oh, so I guess there was something that was actually totally tragic in water this game.
The crabs, they both had crabs. The Dragoon had a king crab, and that king crab targeted the little crab and took its arm off early and then ignored it for the rest of the match. Nothing like technology imitating nature.
So in the end, the Grasshopper and King Crab were taken out by the Thunderhawk. But in return, the Crab and Dragon were taken out by the King Crab's Gauss rifles. And then finally, the Thunder Chicken fell to the King Crab. What a weird set of firepower. So the Thunderhawk and the King Crab killed each other in the same round?
They did. They both killed each other in the same round.
But looks we have a case of multiple destruction. So to pull out a 3-2 victory, way to go. Sounds like a really tight game.
That is, assuming everybody filled out their tracking sheets and the record sheet, score sheet at the end properly. Game number 11. Jeff and his Kells Keshik running the Capellan flags versus Corey, Ansgar's Outlaws, another mercenary player, played out the Bloody Hills Arena, number 25. These two stable managers know each other outside of the league, which is good because the Keshiks abused the Outlaws horribly, as if they caught them in the showers in prison to a 4-1 Keshik victory.
And while the Outlaws Marauder 2 did bring down the Keshik Warhammer, each of the Keshik mechs walk away with a single kill each, and one of them I couldn't believe until I walked over and discussed what was happening with Jeff a couple of turns after I heard what had happened.
I know the one you're talking about. Turn 2, I smoked the Sad Cat with all 6 of my plasma rifles. I built up 15 heat. He, in turn, on that same turn, fired the boat at me. So he was already up heat. The long and the short of that is he failed a 4-up ammo explosion and blew his own mech up on turn 2. I did not expect that to happen. This game could have been a very different outcome if that sad cat had survived, because that's a lot of firepower taken off right away. Overall, I mean, this game was a lot of fun. There was legs flying off of Warhammers and torsos flying off of the other Warhammer, specifically mine. His Warhammer, when I took the leg off it, I think it took me 3 more turns to finally kill the thing while it's laying on the ground, just popping up and firing off 1 ERPPC and a couple of lasers at a time. The Marauder 2, it took a gyro hit, it took 4 plasma rifles to the center torso in 1 turn, still didn't breach it. When I finally did breach it, I got him to a point where he had 1 pip left in center torso, and I think it took me 4 more turns to finally hit that with an SRM, 1 SRM missile from the Scorpion, who actually managed to kill the biggest mech on the table. Overall, it was at the very end of the match, the Griffin was what was left, and he decided he was going to death from above my Fafnir, and the Fafnir took it out of the sky before it made it even anywhere close. All around, fun game to play, and I look forward to seeing what Corey's going to do with Ansgar's here coming up. He's got a nice mod on that Marauder, so it should be a lot of fun for him coming up here in the future.
Hey, did you guys realize that this is once again Jeff bringing somebody to League and absolutely laying a curb stomping on them?
Yeah, he's not allowed to bring his own opponents anymore.
Hey, this one was randomly decided by the randomizer. This had nothing to do with me.
All right, on to game number 12. Alex and his wolf pack running the mercenaries versus JP's Condos Janissaries playing Capellan again. The Mercs and the Capellans battle it out in the Prairie Lakes Arena, number 18. Whenever I wandered past this arena, there was a cluster activity. It looked like a constant shifting vortex. Mechs consistently in different positions, dancing around each other, to a 3-1 Condos victory at the end.
This must have been a good game. When you have the B-side champion up against a 2-time A-side champion, you know they know how to play. Alex has done amazing things in the 3 seasons that he's been in League, gaining skills, gaining experience, and JP's always been a great player, great competitor, and a great mentor for a lot of the new players as well. It does not surprise me that the game was a constantly moving defensive and offensive battle, and it's really not surprising that the Condos won, but I bet you he was pretty impressed with the way Alex played.
The Wolfpack Marauder brought down the Penetrator, but in return, the Yuang killed the Vindicator, and then the Hunchback got the kill shots on both the Marauder and the Marauder 2. Also, I got to witness the tail end of this match, and learned something that never really comes up. Usually you look at when you take a critical head hit and you get life support, you're like, yes, non-essential equipment. In this one here, we learned quickly that life support plus overheating mech, life support becomes essential equipment. And we've seen pilot take 2 hits due to the mech being at, I believe, the Wolfpack's Marauder 2 or Marauder, I can't remember which one it was up to 26 heat, or at that point in time. So yeah, life support, not always a gimme and a head crit.
Game number 13, Scott and the Devil's Brigade running the Lyran flag versus our original Jeff, Riston's Rogues flying Comstar this season. Arena number 2, the Deathly Desert, lives up to its name this game day, folks. We see the returning champion welcome a newcomer with a Paddlin. 4-0 proves why he was last year's champ, and a 4-mech C3I Lance doesn't hurt either.
The Hotman fell to the Shootist, which we should be talking about, fields a Gauss rifle, not an Autocannon 20. The Kintaro slays a Penetrator, and the Perseus takes home 2 trophies in the Axeman and the Night Sky. Clearly, he has an issue with hatchets. I thought we were supposed to be somewhat nice to the new guys, Jeff. I thought your idea was to kind of ease some of these guys in. That sounded like a pretty big beating.
No, it was a really good game, actually. I think part of the issue was Scott just couldn't capitalize on some of the gains he made. Just got to concentrate that fire and really missing that the heavy Gauss in short range on like sixes does not help.
Yep, that'll do it. Scott said it was a lot of fun. Regardless, I talked to him after the match. This is another one of my boys, my friends. He definitely enjoyed the match. If you can't get stuff to go through and you can't double up where you need to, things don't go your way.
Yeah, exactly. He had that my Battlemaster's torso with all of the ammo in it was wide open, and he just could not hit it again.
On to game number 14, Wendigo's Night Stalkers running the Periphery versus Chris C's Paxton's Pathfinders running St. Ives this year. Arena number 11, the Barren Lands turns violet when the Night Stalkers hunt some Pathfinders. This match quickly closed the distance and was fought in only half of the field, with the knife fight ending as a 4-1 Wendigo feast.
Well, the Night Stalkers lost the Wolverine to the Marauder 2, but then the Wendigo's heavies put in some definite work. The Thunderbolt claiming both the Orion and the Marauder 2 for feasting and filling up those kill counts, while the Guillotine dined on both the Wraith and the Cataphract. Well, pretty much sounds like two mechs could have taken the entire day for the Night Stalkers. Those Periphery mechs, they're tough and close. Those heavy PPCs.
That Cataphract also had an ammo explosion. Everything else was right for the heart. CT cord. Way to go, Jay. I'm so excited to see where your lance goes this year and how you do. And Chris, I know we talked. I think you got some ideas for your lance. Look forward to seeing how you move forward from this.
Game number 15, Brandon with his Radiant Raiden Raiders in the Free World League colors versus John, the Vengeful Ones, being a Crusader. Arena 16, the Lakes and Streams host this throwdown showdown. Laying some early firepower down, the Vengeful start off strong. However, second generation stable manager Brandon takes his R cubed to a 3-2 victory.
Yep, that Direwolf proved just how dangerous it is, slaying both the Battlemaster and the Archer. The R-Cubed, or I just want to call them the Ravers, called down some luck, the Archer kicking the head off the Lancelot for a field goal. It only had 6 armor at the time on that Lancelot, so I'm assuming we'll see improvement to that eventually. The Avatar tosses some triple crit into the Battle Cobra, killing its engine, and the Battlemaster finishes off the Elementals, eking out the win. This one is it's the right score that we called. It's just dependent on how John's dice go. Good job, Brandon. Good job, John. Good showing.
Yeah, and for a large portion of this, it was mostly Brandon's dice that kind of called the day. That shot the Avatar hit on the Battle Cobra was 10s to hit. Then just happened to get into the torso that has nothing in it, so any criticals would transfer to the center torso. Got lucky and rolled a 12 for 3 criticals, and all 3 of them hit the engine. Otherwise, those two always play great games. John and Brandon have a lot of fun playing against each other, and the Vengeful Ones did show that those large pulse lasers Gauss rifle combination is pretty accurate.
Game number 16, we have Darren and his Teddy Bear Parade, Warden Clans, versus Paul, Half Cut, Crusader Clans. Clanner on Clanner violence, Warden on Crusader. These teams enter the River Basin Arena, number 9. The map should have been a boon for the Half Cut with superior speed and 4 mechs. Early on, the Dragonfly went up the middle. Like a running back with the ball, it ran right into the defensive wall of the Bears, though. I think there was something like 14 or 15 shots taken at it that turn, and a good chunk of them hit. Both of the half-cut mediums danced around the outside of the arena for the rest of the game as if they were looking for a pass. And this game looked like it was going to be a 0-0 tie as the clock ticked down, but the last round of fire went lighting up the sky. Half-cut going for broke, trying to kill the elementals and the Warhammer, but failing in both, while the Teddy Bears tossed everything they had, every single weapon, straight into the Massacre, bringing down that beast.
Well, 1-0 finish with the Kodiak getting the kill shot on that Massacre. And the rest of the fire from the lance being pointless, it being the first mech shooting. There ain't no kill like overkill. It sounds very much like a Paul game. He goes charging in and then faints back and then spends the rest of the game with you trying to chase your tail. I think this was a great match just from everything I'm reading and from what I was hearing before. I think Paul's going to bounce back with the next game, though.
Oh, yeah. Paul definitely bounced back. You can't keep that man down. I was expecting at least a charge or maybe a death from above, but can't get them all the time. Good job on Darren. I mean, you do what you got to do. Focus fire, kill the Massacre. It's a good one to take down. So that's all the matchups we've had for this week. Some pretty big upsets there. Some amazing wins from some people, and overall, it was a lot of fun ahead from what I could see. I'm really curious how you're finding those gauze rifles there, Lee. I know you're an advocate for saying that they're a broken weapon. So how's that working out for you? Are they as broken as you thought, or they seem to be pretty good?
15-point hit with a medium range of 15. It is what it is. They are broken. They're now been caught up with some of the advanced tech, but for a good 20 years, they were an extremely broken weapon. I still don't like them. I'm using them because they're allowed.
And even with all that broken tech, still can't beat his wife.
It was a good game. I just couldn't finish off a couple of her mechs.
One thing that I'd like to mention is that every single one of our players needs to take some time before game 2 and read your tech. Find out what your tech does. Make sure you're comfortable and familiar with what your tech does. Make sure you understand how your weapons work, what everything else works, and then maybe spend some time looking at other people's techs.
It's always a good idea to check your opponent's tech so you understand it as well, because you might find a tidbit or two that gives you the edge, and you'll learn more about Battletech. Now that leads us into our Week 2 matches. It's going to be exciting. We're going to see some interesting games coming up. Game number 1, we have the Remnants. 0 wins, 1 loss, 0 ties. Representing Comstar, they're up against the Radiant Raven Raiders. 1 win, 0 losses, 0 ties. Representing those great free worlders who like to fight among themselves more than everybody else. I'm going to be calling this for the Remnants 3-2, as the last match was a shakedown for Chris and his C3I. His Thunderhawk died to a fluke, which could have actually changed the game in his favor if it hadn't have been for some really interesting dice rolls. Brandon's Lance is tough and strong, but I think the Remnants have this one because his tech was actually working really well.
I think this is probably going to be a 3-2 Ravens game. Just that Rifleman is too much of a liability still, but this is probably the last time that Chris is going to be fielding it, as he gets skill points at the end of this. So my bet is first thing that happens is it's gone and it gets replaced with something else.
I'm still Chris. I like your Lance. I think that it's going somewhere. But Brandon's now, he's got his Battle Master, he's got his Avatar. Chris, I'm going for Chris on this one. I'm sticking with Lee, actually. I'm going to say 3-2 for Chris.
Yeah, if he loses this, I have to stop picking him again, remember? But I think the Thunder Chicken makes a big difference. That mech did very, very big work for him.
It's a scary mech, and when you got a spotter like you do with the Wraith, it's a scary mech that's shooting you from short range right away.
And once he's at 15 range, he's at medium. It makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, moving on to game number 2. We have the Dead Man's Hand, who is me, representing the St. Ives Compact with 0 wins, 1 loss, 0 ties, up against Cat's Nightingale Cavalry, which is Matt's team, which is representing the Mercs, with 1 win, 0 losses, 0 ties. Well, I can't call anyone else but myself. That would be a little bit too loaded. My gauze rifles and precision ammo will make any direct charge attack from the cavalry a disaster. I'm going to lay a whole bunch of fire into anybody who sticks his nose out first, And I don't care how fast you are, precision ammo makes you hit and be hurt. So, like I said, it's going to be me 3-1.
All right. Well, Matt isn't handicapping himself this year with a rifleman. He did bring a whack ton of MMLs. So he may actually repeat his biggest mistake of overheating himself and shutting himself down again. But if you make the mistake of letting him get within close range, I think just the massive amount of firepower that he can throw from that longbow and the Sad Cat is going to make the difference. And I'm going to call this a 3-2 Nightingale Cavalry.
I know both Lee and Matt have been chirping at each other a fair bit over this one. Lee now has somewhat countered the handicap he gave himself with that Jaeger mech by giving it some armor and some mobility with those jump jets. He does have the precision ammo. Katz has to get close with the snubs and with the MMLs if he wants to use the SRMs. I think Lee should be able to put down at least two of these mechs on the way in. At least one of these mechs on the way in, depending on how fast Matt moves up the table and what map they end up on. I'm going to go with Lee on this one, and I'm going to say it's going to be a 3-2.
I can feel the difference already. Someone who doesn't just automatically vote against me. Game number 3, we see the Teddy Bear Parade, the Warden clans, with 1 win, 0 losses, 0 ties, up against those Lyrans, the Pit Vipers. 0 wins, 1 loss, 0 ties. These are good teams. Teddy Bear Parade definitely pulled out a win there. Pit Vipers, I think their loss was that was the
game that went short on time.
Oh, went short on time, so you didn't really get a good chance to represent.
I think if it had gone full time, it would have been a 3-2 victory, but I couldn't have figured out who it was based off of what I was seeing when the time ended.
Yeah, it's hard to decide, right? Like what they do when you didn't really get a chance to see them play fully. I'm going to say the Pit Vipers are going to pull out 4-3, as that Fafnir will drop 2 to 3 mechs due to its increased accuracy. Because once you're getting hammered by those improved heavy gauze rifles, it just punches massive holes. Heather it was sickening what she did to 2 of my mechs with a single round of fire.
Oh, this is a tough game. I know Darren really knows his stuff for Battletech. He's really rusty on it, though, because he hasn't played in like 15 years. And Cal is picking things up quick, but he's also picked up that gunnery skill. So, like, this is one of our few pilots that is running an improved gunnery on one of his mechs, and it's the Fafnir. So, I'm having a really tough time calling this one. I want to actually call it a 2-2 at time.
Ooh, interesting. Geez, Darren's got that Kodiak, and I love me a Kodiak. But Cal has that Fafnir, and as everybody's pointed out, it's already got a gunnery skill on it. That makes that thing a threat.
As if 2 improved heavy gauze rifles weren't a threat to begin with.
It makes it more of a threat. How about that? I think we're going to see this go to Pit Vipers. Unfortunately, sorry, Darren. I love the Kodiak, but I'm going to say Pit Vipers 2-1.
Game number 4. We have those League of Robots, running clanners. 1 win, 0 losses, 0 ties. They are up against the B-side returning champions, the Wolfpack, running the Mercs. 0 wins, 1 loss, 0 tie. Fortunately, I don't think the League of Robots is going to show much respect because they just beat one of the league's top players. I don't think Jared's going to have any fear of the B-side champion. I think he's going to come in and he's going to win 3-1 just because he's not going to show any respect.
As an ex-roommate, when Alex was a little kid, I know there's going to be no respect given. This is going to be a throwdown match. It is going to end in just a massacre of everybody on the field. I fully believe that Alex is probably just going to run in punching and just try and hammer everything before he loses his stuff. I'm actually going to give it to the Wolfpack with a 3-2 victory, probably having the Elemental still left alive as he just concentrates on the mechs to try and get them out of the way.
Well, I got to witness Jared play. He's good with his numbers. He's good with his positioning. He did learn a few things about how to play his elementals. They were a new learning curve for him. I'm going to say we've got how many 10-point hits coming out of the Wolfpack now? 8?
I can't even remember off the top of my head, but I know it's lots.
Yeah. This one's going to come down to literally going to come down to the numbers, and League of Robots will have better numbers faster. I'm going to say League of Robots 3-2.
Game number 5. We have the first Merrick Militia representing the Free Worlds League. 0 wins, 1 loss, 0 ties. They're up against the Thumper's Revenge and another one of our mercenary groups. 1 win, 0 losses, 0 ties. This is a hard one for me to call because I did just watch Laura take out the Remnants. However, I think this is going to go to the Merrick Militia 2-1. Laura needs to cross the battlefield to close for best results, and the first Merrick Militia has a smothering long-range weapons loadout. Now, depending upon the map, this could be reversed to a 2-win for the Bunnies. There's just too many maps that are wide open or with enough elevations to give the militia a overview of the battle. I'm gonna have to call this for the Merrick's Militia, and we'll see how it goes from there.
All right, so this game is going to depend on how it plays out. If the Merrick Militia has a good defensive position, they're going to take the win. If they don't see a whole lot of turns in this game, it's probably going to be the Merrick Militia. But if Thumper's Revenge can get in and rush the Militia, and if they can get this to be 10, 12, or more turns, I think the superior close-range firepower of Thumper's Revenge will take it. So I'm going to bet on the fact that this goes at least a minimum of 10 turns, pushing the counter up as far as they can, and a Thumper's Revenge 3-1 victory.
Lee's right. Merrick's got the long range advantage, but Laura with Thumpers has that stealth. It moves like the wind. The Grasshopper ain't no slouch in the moving department. The Sad Cat, it's also got the move to close the distance fast. The only one that's going to be staggering behind is the Longbow with the MMLs, with both LRM and SRM ammo, so it can be firing those LRMs on the way in to get there. I think this match is going to go 2-1 for Thumpers, just because they'll be able to close the distance at a speed enough to be able to take that long range advantage out of the equation by turn 3.
I could be completely wrong, especially depending upon the map. It's just, I have a feeling that the long-range fire is going to be really critical in this one. Game 6, we have Hogan's Heroes. Another Merc, what a surprise. They have a 1 win, however, it's just a bye win, so it's 1 point less than a regular win. 0 losses, 0 ties. They're up against the Lyran's Devil Brigade. 0 wins, 1 loss, 0 tie. Well, Hogan's Heroes, this will be their actual first match that we get to see be played. And while the Brigade is picking us off after playing the returning champs last round, this is a really tough call. Very much a week 1 guesstimate, really, even though it's moving into week 2. But just looking at the mech lists, I'm going to have to go with Hogan's Heroes due to being able to play a close-range game better than a close-range Lance. With its snub nose and MML, so I'm actually going to say it's going to be a 3-0 win for them because I think they're going to be able to play the range game.
I feel like this should be a TV miniseries or something that I catch up on reruns with these stable names, Hogan's Heroes and Devil's Brigade. It feels like it's, just a World War II callback or something for one of those shows. With that being said, it had better be pretty entertaining. I want to see a good game. I want to see lots of fun. I want to hear some giggles and some laughs. And I want to hear something epic that happens here. I am going to bet on the Devil's Brigade coming out, and I think it is going to be a 4-3 victory for them, as they just throw everything to try and hammer away. It could be a better win for them being a 4-2, but I think they're going to go overcompensating with a 4-3 final.
I know Scott, the stable manager for Devil's Brigade, and I know he just picked up that Caesar in replacement of the Axeman. That gives him his second heavy gauze rifle. That's 2 big hits when you get in close. So he wants the Hogan's Heroes to come in close to him. The closer he gets, the bigger the damage that heavy gauze rifle's putting out. And then he's got that Penetrator with all the medium pulses. And the Night Sky, that's also all pulses. I'm going to call this one, and I have to call it for my boy Scott. And I think it's going to be a 3-1 victory for Scott.
Game number 7, we have the Nasset Lyrans. 0 wins, 1 loss, 0 ties. They're up against the Renshields Dragoons. Capellan Stealth Aficionado. 1 win, 0 losses, 0 ties. I really do think Todd may have swapped into the Nightstar a week too soon, as the stealth armor of the Dragoons won't mind his gauze and ERPPCs shooting away from so far away. The Dragoons should have this game by a 3-1 as they rip the incoming Crisis Team mechs up, while that Nightstar looks on in horror. I really think that Sagittaire probably would have been a better mech for this fight, but we'll see. Map could make a big difference too.
All right, I'm going to agree with Lee on this one. I think the Sagittaire is a better mech in the Lance than the Nightstar. The Nace CIT is lacking in range firepower, but I mean, if you're going to go 10 hex range for your Lance, lean into it and go hard. The Sagittaire with its targeting computer was doing that really well. Now, who knows? For the rest of the season, the Nightstar will compensate and give him some long-range firepower. But I think he's got a second reoccurring situation of game 1 here when he goes up against the Dragoons. He faced clans first, and they have lots of range benefit. Renshield's Dragoons has lots of range. And I don't think the stealth is going to matter too much, because like the Lyrans don't have anything to shoot at him outside of 9 hexes, 10 hexes. I am going to believe that this is still a Renshield's Dragoons 3-1 victory as well. Totally agreeing with Lee this time. Stamp it on the calendar.
I'm in complete agreement with you guys as well. I do believe though that Nacet has, don't they have that Blackjack with the 2 LB10Xs and another mech with a couple of LBs as well, and now the Nightstar with its gauze rifles, and I can't even remember what the other mech is right now. But the stealth armor is, I think it's going to save the day. Renshield's just picked up their head capper and that clan ERPPC on the Marauder. He can play the range game. He does have a fair few plasmas. I think overall, I think Renshields is going to come out of this, and I think it'll be a 3-1 victory.
Game number 8. We have Tin Man's Tin Cans. The Fed Suns team with 0 wins, 1 loss, 0 ties. They're up against Will's Fenrir's Frost Fangs, the Free Rosalog Republic's Lance. 0 wins, 1 loss, 0 ties. However, when it comes right down to it, it's really a 0-0-0 for him because he never got to play his first game. Justin with the Tin Cans has a super solid Lance and a game in the bag and a little bit of experience now of how his Lance works. Will be shaking off a lot of ring rust coming into the battle, it being his first time at the table in probably 5 months. I'm going to give the Tin Cans a week to win with a 1-0, as there isn't going to be a lot of turns played this game, because Will still got to get himself up to steam.
Once again, somewhat agreeing with Lee. I got a feeling that the Tin Cans are coming away with a victory this time. However, I think it's going to be a 2-1 victory, as they're both going to end up dropping one, and then the Tin Cans will drop a second one near the end to pull away from a tie game into a win.
I'm in agreement with you guys once again. I think with the Tin Mans, Tin Cans, 3 zombie mechs, and they're well loaded out zombie mechs. He's already got 2 targeting computers. He's got the better numbers because of that.
And a sword.
And he's got a sword. I mean, a battle master with a sword. Like, I absolutely love that mech just for the fact that it's a battle master with a sword. I'm calling this one for Tin Mans as well. I think it's going to be a 2-1 as well, Brett.
Moving into our second half, we have game number 9. The first Drakons, Free Rosalog Republic Beast. 0 wins, 0 losses, 1 tie. Up against the Neon Beatons, a very tough Clan Lance. 1 win, 0 losses, 0 ties. Brett's coming into this with a tie that might have shaken his confidence a bit. However, he did pull it out to a tie while being behind the 8 ball kind of early. Aaron has a solid lance, however, Brett gets to prove his prediction that the clan factions are a trap. I'm going to give this a 4-3 win for the Drakons, but he's going to be glad that the match ended quickly. I don't think he's going to want to drag that one out too far.
All right, this is going to be... now, it's a tough call. It's either going to end up being a 4-2 victory for myself, or it's going to be a 4-3 victory. Actually, no, sorry, what I'm trying to say. It's either going to be a 4-3 victory for me, or it's going to be a 3-2 victory for me. I don't know if I can get the elementals to get that final kill off, and it just demands... the map will depend on how brutal it is. But I'm coming into this with 7 skill points spent, with faction tech and an engineering down, whereas the Beatons, being clan and not having made use of that faction tech early on, are coming in with no skills yet. So I think that's going to play a factor. I think the map's going to play a factor. And I think my experience against clans is going to make the overall difference of where I get to walk away with a 4-2 final score victory.
That's a ballsy call, Brett. Beaton's no schlump of a player. He is a former B-side champion himself. He has a lance that is pretty well suited to fight. Brett's got more experience. I'm going to play devil's advocate on this one. I'm going to call for the clans on it. I'm sorry, Brett, but I'm calling for Beaton with a 3-2 victory.
No, that's fair. Like, clan tech is clan tech.
Crutch. Game number 10, we have the Al Shane Regulars. That's a DCMS force. 0 wins, 1 tie, 0 losses. Up against the Red Suns Irregulars. A pretty solid clan lance with 1 win, 0 losses, 0 ties. I think the clan tech is actually going to pull this one out with another victory for Gary. I said early on I think they're going to do well, and the Airsphere is going to catch up. As he's solid in his tactics and doesn't have any racks to jam this season, so he really doesn't put himself in a whole lot of risk. It's going to be the Red Suns Irregulars with a win, 3-1.
All right. Tough call. I think it's actually going to be Red Suns Irregulars. However, I think this is going to be a 4-2 victory for them. I think it's just going to be a little bit brutal. I think it's going to end a little bit early when one side no longer has any feet in the field.
Al Shane Regulars is the one DCMS or possible C3 lance that didn't go with the C3. They did pick up a gunnery skill on their Thunderhawk, which at least means he's got 3 Gauss rifles coming downwind at the Red Sun Irregulars with a +1 to hit. Gary, I think, has more experience. Gary has the tech. And I think it's going to be a 3-2 for Red Suns as well. But I think that that Thunderhawk is going to play into this a fair bit. And if Al Shane's Regulars get lucky and Gauss Rifle hits the head of that Direwolf, this could very easily be one of those upsets for week 2.
Either way, it could be a 4-1. Just flip away you go, right?
Yeah.
That Thunder Chicken is definitely going to play a factor in this.
Absolutely.
Game number 11, we have Asgar's Outlaws. think it might be our final mercenaries of this week. They're got 0 wins, 1 loss, 0 ties. They're up the Kenkazi, a DCMS Lance working its way to a full network. 0 wins, 0 losses, and a tie. The Ansgars were beaten down by a combination of plasma fire and awe and solid tactics, while the Kenkazi had the Drakons by the tail but failed to pull out the win. And I think the DCMS are going to falter a bit here with no skill spends week 1. So I think Ansgar's Outlaws are going to end up with their first win of 3-2.
Ooh, okay. So, coming into this, how do we speak well about both teams? I think they're both coming in for a lot of fun. I think they're both coming in for a win. I don't think either of them are going to go overcommit, though. I think this is going to be a 3-2 Kenkazi victory, just through a little bit of experience with league play now.
Galen definitely has the experience over Corey. Galen is coming in at that disadvantage of not having any skill points to spend because he does have a C3 network, but it's only a 2-mech C3 network to begin with. And Corey's coming in with 2 ECMs, so he can shut down that C3 network, because I don't believe that the Kenkazi have any beagles to shut down the ECMs yet.
They do. It's on the Maelstrom.
Oh,
so
they
it's
do
a
have
spotter
more.
that can shut down an ECM and still be able to spot.
So he does have at least one balancing factor to go against those 2 ECMs. Galen is a solid player. He knows his tactics. And Corey is unpredictable. He does things that most people wouldn't think to do, and it makes him really hard to play against, because you think he's going to zig and he zags instead.
So is Corey unpredictable like Thumper's Revenge unpredictable, or Paul unpredictable?
All unpredictable.
I was going to ask the same question, just I wasn't going to include it.
He's definitely Paul unpredictable. He's the type that you'd be like, oh, the logical move is to go here, and he goes completely the opposite direction and DFAs your mech instead. That's definitely Corey's play style. It's chaotic and it's entertaining. Because of that, I think Corey may cause a little frustration for Galen. And I am actually, with that mod that has been done to his Marauder 2, making that a really good brawler, I'm going to say that I'm going to give this one to Corey. And I'm going to say it's going to be a 3-2 victory for Corey.
Game number 12, we have one of a pair of games that are going to be pretty important to the rest of us at League to see whether or not any of these guys are human. We have the Riston's Rogues with that Comstar Lance, all 4 mechs up and active. 1 win, 0 losses, 0 ties. Up against Fox Knights. That's not the other Comstar Lance. 1 win, 0 losses, 0 ties. So our 2 winning teams. 2 winners with solid weapons and solid skills. However, only one of them is the A-side champion. After an impressive win against his first weak opponent, and tech designed to counter his own tech, I think Riston's Rogues are going to set up a hot start to the season with their second win, 4-2.
Okay, C3I versus C3I. Both teams are running it. Einarch are both on both sides, and both teams are coming off a win. This should be fantastic to watch, however it plays out. With that being said, I can't not bet on Riston's Rogues. He's a champion from last year. He's played in seasons going back to the 90s. He understands how league play works. There's, just everything we can say about him. And against anybody else, I might be betting on our other Comstar player. But I think he's just going to come out and show that experience for a 4-2 victory for Riston's Rogues as well.
I have to agree with this one too. Hamilton does have experience as well, and he's proved that in his last game. But Jeff is coming in with the full networked C3I. He's packing, I believe it's 3 Gauss rifles to Fox Knights 2. I'm going to say that as well. I'm going to say it's going to be a 4-3 win for Riston's Rogues.
Game number 13, we have the Condos Janissaries. Capellan, through and through, 1 win, 0 losses, 0 ties. Up against the other Capellan, Lance, one of Kel's Keshiks. 1 win, 0 losses, 0 ties. Wow, another set of winners going head-to-head, and both going heavy into their specialty tech. I think the overwhelming plasma fire that Fafner can throw out may be the difference here. Yeah, Capellan Civil Wars, otherwise known as Tuesday in the Confederation, because somebody's always backstabbing someone else. I'm going to say JP likes to run his mechs close to that red line, so I don't think he's ready for his own plasma tech affecting him. I think the Kells are going to win 3-2.
All right, I feel a bit like an asshat, but I'm going to call this as a 2-2 tie. JP likes to play overly defensive when he's not entirely confident that he's just going to walk away with a win. And Jeff's Kells Keshiks are going to be also a little bit defensive because he's got that plasma fire coming back at him. So I think it's just going to end up being that, 2-2 tie at the end of the day.
So I'm glad you said that, because my thoughts on this is it's a 2-2 tie as well. And I didn't want to be the guy calling a 2-2 tie for his own game. But JP and I have both experienced playing each other before, and we have legendarily horrible dice when we play each other. Like missing on 5s, it's a slap fight. Or there's also the alternative where somebody's dice goes super hot and the other guys are super cold. But I'm expecting a complete slap fight where it's defensive, offensive, back and forth, and we don't hit anything. And I'm guessing on a 2-2 tie as well.
Game number 14, we have Paxton's Pathfinders, representing the Sade Ives, going a record of 0 wins, 1 loss, 0 ties, up against a player who's not really familiar with this territory. The Abishai's Avengers, representing the Peripheries, with 0 wins, 1 loss, 0 ties. It's not really where Max is comfortable. Max is coming off a disappointing loss last week, and will be looking to take it out on someone. His Lance is throwing out a ton of damage, especially with that updated Chronos. And Paxton's Lance is solid, but I don't think it's using its faction tech to its best potential. Abishai's Avengers for the win, 4-1.
Yeah, I know we've mentioned it before. I think Chris picked St. Ives not because he was really looking forward to it, but just so that they could have some representation. And then he didn't build his Lance to really capitalize on that precision ammo. I think it's going to be fun. I think Chris is going to come out, and I believe Chris, to be realistic here, he's going to sit down at the table, know who his opponent is, and say, my goal today is to get 1 kill. And Max is going to be coming back after that loss with just seeing red like a bull. He's going out hard. So I think it's also going to be a 4-1 end score. But I think both players are going to count that as a victory today.
I have to say I'm in 100% agreement with everything that's been said on this one. Chris isn't utilizing his faction tech to the best of his ability with the mechs he's chosen. And Max is. He's definitely attempting to get those heavy PPCs in where they count. That Chronos is a great mech. And now with the heavy PPC, it's a beast. It's something you got to worry about. I think Brett's right. Paxton's is going for let's get 1 mech down, and Abishai's going for the full board. I'm in full agreement. It's going to be a 4-1 for Abishai's.
Game 15. We have the Vengeful Ones, one of the clanners we've got out there. 0 wins, 1 loss, 0 ties. They're up against the Blitzkrieg Jezebels, a solid quad heavy Lyran Lance. 1 win, 0 losses, 0 ties. John has plans inside of plans for this Lance. And his clan large pulse laser are ridiculously accurate. However, Heather can hit hard, like really hard. 1 improved heavy gauze rifle hit to the Battle Cobra or Lancelot, and they'll just simply be gone before they get to do much. And if the Elementals are still on board with that Battle Cobra when it's killed, that could be the end of both of them in 1 shot. And the Daishi might have high armor, but it can't handle the amount of damage 3 out of 4 of the Jezebel's mechs can dish out. It'll really depend on John's dice, But if last match was any indication, Heather's going to pull this one out as a 3-2 victory because she's hitting really well with those Gauss rifles.
Again, I'm going to agree with Lee on this one. See, Lee, when you actually make proper calls, I agree with you. So this is going to be a Jezebel's 3-2 victory. I think she's just not going to be able to kill off the elementals, and she's definitely going to get everything else. And then it'll just be 2 of her mechs down, 2 of her mechs running around, and that will be the end of the game.
I think this one is coming down to map choice or map selection. If the Jezebels end up on a map that doesn't have a whole lot of hills, a whole lot of trees, a whole lot of cover, then if it's a pretty wide open map and there is a few of them out there, then John has this one. But if there is hills and there is trees, those 2 quads hiding behind a level 1 hill, firing off their big guns all day long, that little blitzkrieg being able to hide in the shadows of hills and get to where it needs to be to pummel in an Ultra AC 20 shots, it'll go the exact opposite way. I think the chances of getting a wide open map are much slimmer than getting one that has cover. So I'm going to call this one for Blitzkrieg as well, and I think it'll be a 4-2.
On to the last game of the night, and these shows are pretty long, but when you got 32 teams, it's what you got to do. Game number 16, we have the half cut, because it's supposed to have a exclamation point, representing the clans with 0 wins, 1 loss, 0 ties, up against Wendigo's Night Stalkers, our last periphery glance of the night, with 1 win, 0 losses, 0 ties. This is another situation where Paul could have won his last match, but it came down to the last couple of rounds where it was decided. His speed is unmatched this season. I think he's got the fastest lance going. But the Wendigo's hard-hitting weapons are hole punchers. I'm going to say Paul gets his first win, though, because as long as he keeps moving and keeps those heavy PPC at medium to long range, half cut can go all the way this game. 3-2.
And I'm going to start writing the script that I talked before you, because I'm also going to go for half cut this time. I know Jay is doing good this year. I know Jay really had a lot of growth and experience and fun times last year. And he's not leaning into the meme that was Timmy and a berserker. So he is coming out going, I'm going to punch you. I'm going to take punches. He's more John McClane this year. The half cut has the firepower and the speed to dance around, get some shots in. And I think it's going to be a lower scoring game, though. I think it's going to be 2-1.
Jay's actually looking forward to this one. He played against Paul last season in the kind of during the playoffs when they were both out of it, and it was one of the funnest games he played. He said so. I think no matter how this shakes out, we're going to see 2 people that leave the table happy who had a great time playing. I am going to go against my co-hosts here, because I believe Jay's got the taste for blood, and he's going to come out swinging and make smart choices and go after what he can hit first, and then chase down the stuff he can't. His firepower, in the weirdest way, is way greater than what Paul can put out with half cut. So I'm calling this a Wendigo's victory, but at a 3-2.
Well, usually our group is pretty cut and dispersed among what our predictions are. This week seems to be we're running along a very similar path, other than a few outlier weird calls. I'm looking forward to seeing how everything pans out next weekend. The scouting reports will be up on Friday, the same day this is coming out. And you guys will have a day and a half of being able to look over your opponent's specs and changes. Have a great week, everybody. Good night.
Definitely looking at some interesting things, especially after we get through next week's games. That's when we get to see those clans start getting their skills, and we get to see all the C3I and C3 lances get their skills. Next week's going to be definitely exciting. The matchups look amazing. Looking forward to seeing the outcomes of these. There's some specific ones that I'm really looking forward to. Especially, I'm actually really looking forward to see how that Blitzkrieg Jezebels and Vengeful Ones game shakes out. Overall, thanks for tuning in, everybody, and have a wonderful evening. We'll catch up next time.
Yeah, I think the game that I want to see the most is the Hogan's Heroes versus Devil's Brigade. I think it's just going to be entertaining. I'm looking forward to all of the games that are going to get played, but that's my one that I'm calling out for Game of the Week next week. And I hope everybody has an enjoyable evening and enjoyed the show. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you next time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell, and tell all your friends.